From Real Food for Life. Recently, I've seen a lot of people discussing lower carb options or low carb, low sugar options, etc. And they think it may be keto and may be better for them. Yet, it seems some advertisers or manufacturers of products are starting to use these terms to try and push their products, and sometimes their products aren't actually much different from what someone would eat on a standard diet. An example of this was a bread option that was available in Australia recently or currently, and it's advertised as being lower carb. Now, lower carb, all it's got to be lower carb, something just has to be lower than the norm. So it could only be 0.5% or 1% less. And when you actually looked at the macros of the bread or the ingredients list of the bread, it was full of wheat, full of a lot of other inflammatory items. But having one serving of this bread would have put someone who looks for 20 grams of carbs per day or less, it would have actually put them over their carb intake for the day. So calling it lower carb, yes, it was, but it definitely wasn't keto. Another one, there was a brand, and I won't mention the brand name because I think it's important everyone checks their own items. And some of these companies' items are very low carb. But it mentioned it was a keto bar. And having a look at it, the carbs in it definitely weren't, sort of say 5% or less of the total product. So, which is what a lot of people will go by for keto. It was sitting up at around 20%. Now, as I said, some of their other products of this company definitely are low carb. They're down at 1.4, 1.5%, which is fantastic. But as far as the carb count, it was extremely high. And they were pushing it as a keto product. So just something to be aware of. One of the other things I've noticed of late is Wheat Bix. So Sanitarian Wheat Bix have been advertising on the TV, and they're stating that they're low in sugar. And again, this is a little bit misleading, a little bit playing with the wording, etc. in advertising. So yes, their product is low in sugar. It sits at about 1%, I think, or even less than that, of actual sugar in the product. Yet it's 67% carbohydrate. So when you look at that, that's about 17 teaspoons of sugar per 100 grams, or the equivalent of sugar when the carbs are converted across. Now, in relation to the other macros, protein from Wheat Bix is about 12%, and fat is about 1.3%. So the ratios are far more in the carbohydrates, which isn't necessarily what we necessarily want for a healthy lifestyle. When you equate that out to just say one serving of Wheat Bix, which is 30 grams or 2 actual Wheat Bix themselves, that works out the equivalent of 5 teaspoons of sugar are in 2 Wheat Bix, which is absolutely crazy. So that's, and this is going off their packaging, which I'll include a picture of to support it. It's 20 grams, and they also have to add a lot of extra items. They're adding B1, B2, B3 vitamins in there, and they're saying it's 1.83%, etc. Of their weight, for instance, for the B1. Yet if you eat real food, you don't need to have these fortified cereals in your life. Something like just eating normal meat has B1, B2, B3 in it. And depending on how much you eat, or other vegetables, etc., you are able to get those nutrients. The more nutrient dense your food, the better it is for you. And just on that topic of nutrient density, I was watching a TV program. It's called the Cook Up, and the host is Adam Liao, I believe you say his name. Great chef. I really enjoy his work. And on Monday night, I think it was, he had 2 guests on there in the kitchen. They're all cooking up various items. And they're cooking with lentils, which, you know, some people eat lentils. Personally, I don't, due to them being a legume, but that's okay. Towards the end of the program, after everyone had cooked their different dishes, he pulled out all these different items, and they were various sizes, etc. And he had some meat, some chicken, or some beef, some chicken, etc. Bok choy, I believe it was, kale. He had chickpeas. He had quite a large range of items, and he was asking the people to put them in order of highest protein to lowest protein. And they put them in the order they thought they should have been. And then he revealed that everything there had the same protein amount in it. Now, of course, something like the leafy greens, that bunch was a lot bigger than what the beef was, because, you know, in order to get that, that's what he needed. And, you know, the guests were fairly surprised. And one of the guests did mention nutrient density, or actually it was bioavailability of the protein from the various food sources. And unfortunately, Adam laughed that off, which was a bit unfortunate, as I said, because the nutrient bioavailability, or the protein bioavailability out of those different items, was completely different. Where he may have had a small piece of steak and a large piece of leafy greens, or a large bunch of leafy greens, to get the same amount of protein, that was the amount of protein in the product, not the bioavailability. Now, as an example, 100 grams of beef would give you 30 grams of protein. And there's about 185 calories in that 100 grams of beef. Now, if you compare that to get the same amount of protein that your body can absorb, so the bioavailability, you'd have to have 250 grams of tofu, which would work out at 300 calories. Now, calories in, calories out isn't always a great thing. There are other items that affect weight loss and your health. But if you have to eat 2.5 times the amount of tofu to get the same amount of protein, you know, that is a huge difference. Not only is it a huge difference in the amount you have to eat, so therefore, you know, you're going to feel fuller, etc., but it's also the cost. You know, you can buy meat, etc., at sometimes, you know, a lot better price than what you can tofu. So, or other items. You know, so people will talk about eating nutrient-dense food can be more expensive, but when you actually get the same bioavailability of whether it be protein, or the vitamins, etc., out of different foods, you know, there's some of the things you actually have to look at. It's not just, you know, the price. It's not just what is in an item, but it's the actual makeup of the item. If you have any questions, please email us, david@realfoodforlife.com.au, and we'll answer you, or just post a question below and we'll definitely look after it. Until next time, thanks a lot. Beautiful day out here again in Melbourne. So it's about 18 degrees currently, which isn't bad for coming into winter, and enjoying the sun while I can. Okay, cheers, bye.